Okay guys, I've already given you the how to paint Lysander video that went up last Saturday. If you haven't checked that out, do check it out after this video. In this one, we are going to tackle the other model that came out alongside him, which is the new Raven Guard Chapter Master Aethon Shaan. So yeah, he can seem quite intimidating, all the different black tones, the big beautiful red ribbons, the pale emo haircut and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be super simple and super easy to get it done, and I'm going to show you how to do it in today's video. So let's get stuck in. Okay guys, before we jump into the painting side of this video, I just want to say a huge thank you for all of your continued support. If you are enjoying the videos and you want to help me out a little bit, please do make sure you give the videos a like, drop comments if you have anything to ask, and make sure you're subscribed. If you want to push that support a little further, check out Patreon and become a channel membership. They're both linked down below. You get access to a private Discord server, you get extra videos every single week. There's a bunch of events over on the Discord, like painting competitions and showcases and stuff. It's a really cool place to be. It's like 400 or 500 people in there now. So lots of help to offer, and it's just a really smooth thing. It's awesome. So if you think about that, obviously link down below. If you also like buying lots of toy soldiers and want to save yourself some money, we do have some affiliate links for some stores. If you're in Ireland, check out Underworld Gaming. They're linked down below. If you're in the United Kingdom, check out Element Games, linked below. And if you're in anywhere else in Europe except for those two places, check out My Hobby Place, linked below. If ordering from those, you'll save yourself 15, 20, maybe even more on your purchases. And the channel will also get a little bit of a kickback as well. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's dive in and talk about painting this beautiful Space Marine. So the first thing I did was got him built, and I left him slightly sub-assembled. I was very tempted to leave his backpack off, but I decided, nah. So just his head was left off for ease of painting. After that, all the parts were sprayed black and then sprayed with grey cere over the top of that. Spraying black first makes it easier for the grey cere to adhere, gives you a nicer coat, it's better, I like it. After that, we moved on to starting the black armor. We went for black Templar contrast, and we were applying this to all of the power armored parts of the model, except for his arms. Raven Guard color schemes, there's lots of black armor, but their arms are actually left that kind of cool off-white color. So make sure you don't do any contrast on those. There's actually quite a lot of extra detail on this guy that makes him stand out. Obviously, he's a chapter master. He's supposed to stand out a little bit. Now, you might see, what the hell are you doing with a second different black contrast now? This is Black Legion color, and I'm applying this to all of the awesome feathers that kind of go around the top of this guy. Now, I'm just going to wing it. That was actually not even an intended pun for these feathers. And my thought process is, this is literally the only model in your entire army which is going to have a big plume of feathers. So you can paint it however the hell you like. It doesn't have to match anything else or be a part of anything else. Just let it be its own thing. I just wanted to differentiate the black of the feathers and the black of the power armor, so I started with two very different contrasts. Blood Angel's red contrast was then used for these ribbons. This is one of the parts of the model which I nearly actually tried to cut off and leave off the model. Aesthetically, I think it's really cool, and it adds that really big, beautiful pop of color down there, which is why I kept them. But from a story point of view, this guy's like the master of shadows. He's all about stealth and stuff like that. He hides in the rafters with his quiet power armor, and then has these giant red scarves draping down. Like, I don't know how stealthy that is or why they exist. So I did nearly cut them off, but I decided they looked a little bit too cool, and I just left them on. Next, we shall be moving over to Wildwood, and this is for the leather parts. Now, this bit always confuses me with Space Marines, because obviously they can have leather, like pistol holsters or whatever, and the strap goes around the thigh. That's fine. But now, Space Marines seem to have leather belts around their waist now for, what, holding up their power armored pants? Why they have leather belts on now? I don't know. A lot of the time when I'm painting Space Marines, I just paint it like it's power armor and I ignore it entirely. But because this guy is so, like, few colors, I decided to do a little bit of brown too. But I don't end up layering it at all or doing anything else with it. It's just a bizarre choice. I don't get it, to be honest with you. A lead belcher was then used for all the metallic parts. Obviously, the vents of his big power pack. Obviously, there's a jump pack, really. There's obviously vents at the back of that. His awesome taloned claws. And then there's like some like struts and bars and stuff at the back of him that you can do as well. I'm not going to really show you on camera. I do talk about it a little bit later on, but the base, all that metal bit on the base is going to get done with the lead belcher as well. So if you're at this stage now, you can obviously knock that in. Retributor Armor Gold is used for the gold detail, which is just a single Raven Guard symbol on his shin. Why the shin Raven Guard symbol is gold, I don't know. Normal Raven Guard symbols are black or white, so cool gold one. Chapter Master, I guess, gets a little bit of bling. Nothing wrong with that. It's a pretty cool touch, so I'm going to do it. Morghast bone is used for all the raven skulls, which is actually quite a lot. There's built into each of his talons. And then throughout the feathers, there's Morghast bone. I even missed one or two of them while I was blacking in the feathers, and I just covered them in black, which I'll then have to find and paint over. Try to keep the majority of them nice and white. And honestly, I probably would have done a contrast for all of them if I hadn't accidentally painted some of them black. Therefore, I went for a standard base coat of Morghast bone to block it in. The head, obviously, on its separate piece. When we were doing the black sections with Black Templar, we did the hair and the collar bit. We're going to leave the mouth piece, the grey seer. That's the base coat we're going to do for all the white bits. That's including the arms. So just be careful when you're painting the rest of the model not to hit the arms with anything, because, like I said, that's our base coat. And then I just threw some golden flesh around his skin. From here, it's time to shade the entire piece, and for this, we are going to go for our trusty Nuln Oil and shade the entire model from top to bottom. It does really nice work with all the black armor. It actually does a really good job with all of those kind of white parts as well, which might seem crazy. It's one of the advantages of the Games Workshop changing up their recipe with shades. When they went to the more kind of diluted, thinner coat, it actually shades brighter colors really well, adds lots of definition around those white power armory bits. And then we're just going to simply layer it in a moment to make it all up. So while that shade was drying, I worked on the base. So all I did was threw some Firelands AK texture paste on the base. When that was 100% fully dried, I went in with the orange contrast and I painted the whole rock face that he's kind of jumping down and the base with that color. I did silver, like I said, for all the silvery bits. Then I dry brushed that rocky facade bit and all the ground texture with Riser Rust. And then when that's fully dry, I went in with a little coat of a bone color and gave that a little dry brush over the top to finish off the kind of tones that I wanted to. I tend to go for a simple Martian scheme for a lot of my Space Marine bases. I like all the armies to kind of match the same basing scheme, so all my Space Marines kind of have the same basing, which I think looks really cool. It kind of makes darker colored armies like pop, so anything like black. Like you can see he just leaps off of it, even though he's quite dark. It's a very interesting color scheme now. I really like it. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments. You think the base is cool? Would you change it? What are you going to do base yours? Okay, now with all those bits out of the way, the model is fully dried from its shading and everything like that. It's time to start the very quick, very accessible layering stage. We're not going to be doing any crazy edge highlighting or anything like that. We're going to start with a simple Corvus black. The hint is in the name, Corvus, which is just all about the Raven Guard. So we're going to use this to layer up the power armor. I never thought Raven Guard armor looked like jet black. It's not like a Black Templars or anything like that. So I think Corvus black is a beautiful color to layer with. It's black with a touch of gray. And as you can see, I'm just working my way around the entire model, all those flat panels. I'm layering up and trying not to hit anything else, but leaving all the recesses, that nice dark contrast and shaded part. Okay, now to layer the Grey Seer areas, we're going to use Grey Seer, which is just the perfect color, I feel, to highlight the Raven Guard kind of whitish arms, the chest piece and stuff. I never thought it was pure white. It never looks like pure white when it's next to like white scars or anything like that. So this off-whitey grey color seems to really do the trick. I've been doing all of my Raven Guard miniatures. Suffice to say, it's not that many. I've just done the Primaris Space Marine Hero set and the Shrike model in it, but they've all turned out great. And I'm happy enough to continue it on with this guy. So it will take 2 thin coats. Obviously his big talons are quite large. There is some slightly bigger, flatter panels. So don't try and force it with 1 coat. Just do a coat that's a little bit streaky, and then work over the second coat until you're happy with it. This will give a great result. Corvus Black and Mechanicus Standard Grey. So what I did here was actually just grab Mechanicus Standard Grey and put a dollop of it into the mix of Corvus Black that was already on my wet palette. And I just used this to add a very quick, very simple highlight to all of the feathers across this guy. I'm not particularly worried about adding too much detail to the feathers. They're like Raven's feathers, so they're black. They're not like big and colorful. They're not really a standout feature of the model, which is kind of a bizarre thing to say. If a Space Marine was going to have a big plume of feathers, you'd imagine it would be one of the key features. It's not. I think the ribbons are more important, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the ribbons. So for the ribbons, I jumped to Mephiston Red for the first layer. You guys seem to like when I talked about kind of percentages in the last video, so I'll kind of use that analogy here. So When I'm layering up an area like these big beautiful red ribbons, I'm going to go through my 3 reds: Mephiston, Evil Sons, and Wild Rider. So when it goes to the kind of Mephiston red stage, we're going to do like 65-70% of the model, of the kind of red sections, the big ribbons are going to go red. When it jumps to the Evil Sun Scarlet bit, we're probably going to drop that down to about 20%. We're going to hit some of those raised areas and some of the kind of sharper edges. And then when it jumps over to the final one, that Wild Rider, then you really are only doing about kind of 5% of the ribbon area you're going to do. And those areas are going to mostly be right on the edges, those really kind of sharp bits, or those really slightly like raised folds of the fabric, or maybe one nice little line highlight down the middle of flatter areas just to give that pop of color to the model. But it's not difficult, it's just a little bit time consuming, I guess, using so many colors. But I enjoy making certain parts of the models pop, spending a little bit more time on kind of like key features of a model and just letting kind of simpler colors be simpler. It's okay if they are. Not every part of every model needs to be like this godly work of art. I think if you just do 1 or 2 things really nice, the model itself will look really nice. So for all those raven skulls, we're going to just do a very quick Morghast bone highlight on them. And we are actually going to jump up 1 more color and go for a Ushabti bone. And then that will be an even kind of simpler highlight across the top of that. So across the top of the beak and head and stuff. So that's what this step will be. And you can see how quickly I move. It's literally just adding some very tiny amounts of that Ushabti bone to these sections just to make it pop. One thing that I did forget to do across this entire thing, if you look at those raven skulls that are in his claws, in those kind of bits on the back of his palms, there's supposed to be like a ribbon going through, or a cord going through the kind of eye holes of the skulls, which is holding it to the armor. I was meant to go back with black paint and repaint that after the bone was done. I forgot to do that. So if you're doing it and you want to kind of build that up, please do try not to forget like me and do that little black line. Done my skin like I always do my skin. I probably should have thought about the Raven Guard skin a little bit more, maybe done something different to make it a little bit more kind of pale and pallid. They are supposed to be, I think, almost albino looking with their skin. Maybe I should have done, but I didn't. I just left it as a standard skin tone for me. Cadian, bit of Berserker Bloodshade wash, and then some Kislev flesh. I went a little bit heavier on the Kislev with that idea of making him just look a little bit paler. When it comes to all of the metallics, what I did is I just used standard lead belcher for all of those. And then with the lead belcher on the palette, I got a tweezers with a little bit of case foam. And I just, dipped it in, rubbed most of it off, and then did a little bit of weathering on the armor. Here I am removing the most of it. And then just, attacking, those armor parts, aiming for sharp edges like where the knee joint is, or where armor edges are, and any of the flat areas, just do slight dabs. And it just gives that kind of idea of small chipping and small battle damage. I'm not one for immaculate looking Space Marines. I think they're always going to have a little bit of battle damage on them. They always talk about small arms fire pattering off the armor, but that pattering is still going to chip all the paint. So yeah. After that, I super glued the head into place. I very quickly gave the eye lens in his eye a little bit of a green, kind of a glowy effect. And that left me with a finished Aethon Shaan miniature. Something that I'm quite happy with. I think he looks really cool. I think he stands out if he's flying across the battlefield at you with maybe a couple of Raven Guard Assault Marines in tow. You're going to know he's there. You're going to know he's the boss. And I think he's probably going to make you pretty nervous. So, yeah. Continuing on, my new kind of goal of trying to organize miniatures and keep them safe. I will, as always, as soon as a model is fully built and fully painted, I'll move over to my Warmag magnets. And I will stick a magnet under its base so that I can store him in a case. Having to go back retrospectively for years worth of miniatures is horrible. So I'm trying not to have that pile grow. So every new model gets its magnets straight away. A couple of still images against a white backdrop so you can actually see this guy. And yeah, he's all done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to more content very soon. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.